Hey YouTube, coming at you with Beyond the Hype of the new Charm Pokemon Dachsbun. So it is now the #1 Charmer in the Great League. So what I'm going to do in Beyond the Hype is look at it from a sort of analytical point of view. What is its strengths and weaknesses in terms of typing, in terms of stat products, in terms of moveset. And then I'm going to showcase some battles of a team I did and give you then my thoughts of all the strengths and weaknesses of the Pokemon. It's an interesting Pokemon. I do have some strengths and weaknesses coming out of it, having used it. I did decent with it, but, we'll talk about it in a second here. So, as you can see, it's the #4 ranked Fairy Pokemon, but the #1 Charmer, ahead of Wigglytuff, which is normally the go-to Charmer. So, in terms of this Pokemon, it has a lot of stuff going for it. It's got a 113 attack, 156 defense, 111 stamina for 1970 overall. And I always say you want that close to like that 2000 stat product with a lower attack and higher defense stamina combo. So it's got a pretty high defense, lower stamina. And then it has, it's just a fairy, pure fairy. So it only has 2 weaknesses in steel poison. A ton of poison, but not a lot of steel right now just because there's so much ground. And then double resist dragon, single resist fighting, dark, and bug. So, in terms of the resistances, it's okay. There are some fighters out there. And I guess 1 or 2 bug, but I guess there's Malamar too. And then dragons, and not as much as there was in previous seasons. Okay, but the main strength of this Pokemon is its moveset. Because it's a Charmer. There's 2 real fast move damage moves in the game. Charm and Razor Leaf. And the problem with these moves is that they're so high attack, damage per turn here is 6, but extremely, extremely low energy. So what the Charmers always had problems with was they would almost never get, and even says even here, low shield pressure. It was really worse with a lot of other Pokemon because you would just if they were like 45 or 50 energy moves, you would never get to it. In fact, if you can see the third move here is Play Rough at 60. I think someone commented that Home Slice was running Play Rough. There's no point of running Play Rough. It takes 30 turns worth of moves to get to. To put that in perspective, it takes 10 turns for the Feraligatr to get to the Hydro Cannon. So by the time you get to the Play Rough, Feraligatr has already launched 3 Hydro Cannons. So it's not something that you need on this Pokemon. And you're going to see in my battles, I'd argue you don't need Body Slam. I think you can, if you don't have the Dust or the XLs, not even XLs, just rare candies, you can get by with just Psychic Fangs. I did use Body Slam once in a matchup. And it was helpful. So if you have the dust and you have the candies, for sure, throw a Body Slam on there. But for the most part, you're just going Psychic Fangs. Now, if you look, the main question you're going to have is, what is the main difference? Why is this ranked ahead of Wiggly? And is it that much better? I'm going to argue that Wiggly is slightly better. Now they both have very similar stat products, right? They're both at that 115 attack, so I think slightly higher attack, really, really high stamina, but low defense. But again, this one has defense and then lower stamina and 1925 overall. So pretty similar there. Similar in the charm. This has a normal typing, so same resistances, but now that normal typing picking up a double resistance to ghost. And neutralize. So you neutralize the fighting because you're half normal. So the fighter is now hitting neutral, but because you're normal, you now double resist ghosts. So being able to wall Corsola, and being able to resist the Shadow Claws on Feraligatr, I think I personally would think that having that half normal typing is more of a benefit. And the other thing that has this benefit, I think there's 2 things. I think Swift also being a 35 energy move, but having same type attack bonus on a decent moveset is, you felt that. I got into a couple matchups you're going to see here against Wigglytuff. It just feels like Wigglytuff, when it gets to the first move, does have the advantage overall. But I think where Dachsbun has an advantage over Wiggly is when you want to go into the sort of 1 and 2 shield, if you can lower your opponent's defense right away and then charm through that. So as you can see here, Swift 35 for 66 damage, 1.89. So 66 damage. The best damage you're doing here is a 50 non-tap, so 16 damage better on the Swift than the Body Slam, and then 26 better than the Psychic Fangs. So you're doing a lot of damage with that Swift compared to Psychic Fangs and Body Slam, but obviously Psychic Fangs lowers your opponent's defense. So that is the trade-off. And I paired it with Corsola and Gastrodon because, again, Steel and poison are going to be your biggest answers. So steel and poison, these two answers, steel and poison. So that's why I put them together. It does leave you vulnerable, like fire, like Gastrodon deals with fire, but then I went into a Talonflame, so that was a bit tough. So there's a couple like just almost top left matchup. Like I ran into like a Bastiodon, like grass hole sort of team, and I was just like, oh, that's like a top left. But let's look at some battles, because it was, I guess it was sort of interesting, and I guess it's like what you're sort of used to as a charmer, like used to, not used to here. So we have an Azumarill here. Getting to the move, again, you're almost always just doing Psychic Fangs, because just to lower your opponent's defense just is that much valuable. But as you can see right off the bat, I should have previewed one where I let moves go first. Drapion, so let's go Gastrodon, yeah. You will notice that when people typically use fast move damage Pokemon, it is really attack heavy, usually Shadow Pokemon. Shadow Victreebel, Shadow Gardevoir. Wiggly gets by because of its normal typing / having some more bulk. So this plays extremely similar to Wiggly, with a little less oomph on the charm. So as you can see here, it's not like the charms are doing nothing, but the pure charm damage from this Pokemon before you lower the defense does not feel any sort of overpowering for a fast damage move. However, once you lower their defense, the charms do start adding up, right? So we took Sola down to the 50% range, and their defense is lowered. So I can just come in here and astonish the rest down myself and take this matchup. Morpeko is obviously a great matchup because that is super effective. To get into an Ariados, so I'm just going to meet it with Corsola again. You're weak to poison and steel, and fire is going to be an issue. So I think these two, although they can lead to some problems in terms of T-Comp here, like certain grass Pokemon like Shadow Vic and stuff like that are real problems for this team. But, you know, in terms of a balance overall and what's in the meta, I think this team does pretty well. So I've already grabbed one shield, and I'm just taking resisted move. Resisted. With it, so Trailblaze here, anyways, for the first time. So Morpeko comes back in. I kept Switch, which is great. I mean, it does not matter too much because there's an argument I should get out into one of these two because I have two answers for it. But let's just stay in and chip and then force some shield or do good chip damage. This is the strength of Corsola, right? It's just so bulky. So they'll probably take me out with like a Psychic Fangs, maybe an Aura Wheel. We'll see. So it is an Aura Wheel. That's fine. Change form. Do get the charm through. Hey, look at that. Not denied. Great. So I will shield. Oh, again, it's the dark form, but as I mentioned, like those dark forms still hurt. So here we go. Like Jumpluff. This is Shadow Jumpluff. 4 charms. You know, you're looking at maybe 20%, 25%. Psychic Fangs doesn't really threaten, but then like once you lower their defense once, then you can really start to see the damage of these charms starting to add up here. So again, it does struggle with, like, yes, it's fantastic that you have the fastest charge moves in the game at 35. Like, this is the main strength of this Pokemon. And this is why Wiggly has become so much better this season. Having the quickest charge move in the game at 35 energy is a must for fast move damage Pokemon if you want to put any sort of pressure. And the fact that it's one that lowers your opponent's defense is huge. So, yeah. We had a Bastion lead, met with a Wiggly here. And I think you know where the mid game's going here. It's just a hard counter team, so there's not much to talk about this matchup. So when you use this Pokemon, the first thing you will notice is even if you use the Wiggly, it's possibly the worst charmer in terms of fast move damage. At least with me. It's close to Wiggly. I think Wiggly has a little more fast move damage than this Pokemon. But, you know, when you then get down to the Psychic Fangs here, being able to throw it, it's a terrible move in itself. The damage is going to be near nothing. But being able to throw that and then being able to chip your opponent is huge. Like, do more damage there and then come in here, just, you know, the Shadow Vic. Yeah, that's top left. It's just a fast move damage. This is just a hard counter. There's nothing I can do here. So we'll look at the other matchups because I know I remember at least one Wiggly mirror match in the lead, maybe even two. So I'll just kind of show you like how it plays out and what it looks like. Okay, so this is a terrible lead. It is a Skeledirge which resists Charm because it's fire. I do get like 3 or 4 Nightshades off, or no, Astonishes off before they decide to finally get out. So this is good because I will now just have such a shield advantage, energy advantage, that I can really put pressure on them. Crursola's very tanky, so I can take this move and get to a power gem. So I think I grabbed the second shield here. And like Wiggly, again, most of the problem with the other Charmers, all the other Shadow Charmers and Charmers that I mentioned, except for Wigglytuff, is that they're pretty glassy. And so here we are taking Stab, Shadow, Charms, and a Weather Ball, and we're still in the yellow. Right now we're in the red, but like you have an okay amount of bulk. I didn't feel like I needed to shield up any first move against a Zoomerl, against like a Shadow Jumpluff or anything. I feel like you could just take a lot of first moves and live pretty much everything, which is the strength of this Pokemon, as opposed to if you're playing like a Shadow Gardevoir or something. You are just basically have to shield up anything. I mean, the trade-off is those Charms do an insane amount of damage, but I think this meta benefits more this Pokemon, Dachsbun and Wiggly, as opposed to like a Shadow Gardevoir, because they're just too glassy and there's too much bulk in this meta. So if you have a Pokemon that has some bulk but can still do that fast move damage, it really really helps here. So not much from this Pokemon on this team because they just got out of the lead. Let's look at the next matchup here. Here we go. Perfect. Wigglytuff lead. So as you can see, Charm versus Charm. It looks like they're sort of doing the same. There's 5, there's 6. So we both get to the move at the same time. It's 6 to a Psychic Fang, 6 to a Swift. And they catch on a Quagsire. Okay, so I didn't see the catch, but they caught. So I'm just going to chip a bunch and then I'll come and absorb on Corsola. So, and shielding. Yeah, that's interesting. Well, there's Shadow, and I kind of expected a Stone Edge. So a Shadow Stone Edge. This goes back to what I mentioned in my video, I think yesterday, if you saw it. Again, about like going against Morpeko and going against Drapion. I'd rather shield up the first Crunch and the first Aura Wheel, because if you don't, then they can potentially bait, and that puts you in a weird spot. But again, like here we are against Amandabuzz throwing Stab Charms, and yes, we're doing damage, but you're not doing the damage that you would expect a Charmer to do. So that's, I think, I don't want to just repeat myself for the next 10 more minutes of battles, so maybe I'll start covering the battles more, but basically Charms won't hurt as much as you think they will. The Psychic Fangs is huge, being able to lower your opponent's defense. Once you lower their defense, then the Charms start doing what you think they should be doing in the first place. And this Pokemon can take charge moves that you don't need to worry about shielding up the first one. You can definitely take a first charge move from almost everything, except for like super effective moves, right? But for the most part, you're fine taking charge moves for most things. So that is this Pokemon in a nutshell. Definitely worth getting. Honestly, if you don't have good ideas to this Pokemon, you don't have the dust, you don't have the things. If you have a Wiggly, I think it's the same. Honestly, Wiggly even maybe gets a little bit of advantage with the normal typing being able to resist Ghost. So, I do think because it's so Wigglytuff-like, and Wiggly is so strong in this meta, if you like Wigglytuff, you're going to like this Pokemon. If you don't like Wigglytuff, you're not going to like this Pokemon. They play very, very similar. Charms chip, but maybe not as overpowered as you want them to be. You can take some moves, yada, yada, yada. Okay. Ferrothorn comes in on my Gastrodon, so I have an Earth Power, so we will chip this here, and we'll get our Corsola on this, and we'll get our Dachsbun on what was on that lead. It was the Morpeko, so here we go. Coming here, I really, again, do not want to take an Aura Wheel from this range, and it's just a Psychic Fangs, but I'm fine taking like the dark one. So I just get to Charm down here. and tried to throw blind. So you're at what, 50, 60% health? And you live, right? So you live a Power Whip from a Ferrothorn from like 60% health. And that's the thing. If this was like a Shadow Gardevoir or whatever, that's an immediate KO. But you live. Most moves do in that range. 50, what I felt like taking the Zoom Rolls moves, taking an Energy Ball from Jumpluff, taking that Power Whip. Most moves on you feel like they do about 50 to 60%. So it depends how much the fast move damage does here, going against a Carbink. So they are also doing some fast move damage with their Rock Throws. I think that's the move. Or some type of rock move. Again, lowering the defense now is starting to, like, now those charms are adding up how you want them to. This is, again, one of the drawbacks why I think Wiggly has a slight advantage, because it could actually put pressure with some shields with Swift, right? Because Swift does 26 more raw damage than the Psychic Fangs. Of course, they play two different roles. Psychic Fang lowers your opponent's defense, but Swift really, when you have a Charmer, being able to chip as much as Swift does really puts pressure on your opponents. So you will never put pressure on your opponents with, oh yeah, I'm just screwed here. Oh yeah, Double Grass, I'm really screwed here. You will never put pressure on your opponents with your charge moves here. You will only put pressure with them with your fast moves. So there's an argument to be made that you may want to hide this Pokemon in the back. And again, Wiggly will just play this mirror match out. We're both going to get to moves at the same time. We're both doing about the same amount of damage. And again, this is where it comes to, see, I think they've done slightly more damage to me because I think they're slightly more attack heavy. I can take a Swift, but it puts me to the red. And if they let this go, it's not going to do much for them. And they're going to switch in the zeros. So they let it go. I'm obviously way worse. And because even though those charms are doing more, because the Swift did so much damage, I lose the zero shields against Wiggly. Okay, so there we go. That is the perfect example of this Pokemon in a nutshell, is the Wiggly versus Dachsbun in the zero shields. So if you're going to play with this Pokemon, it does play similar to Wiggly with less shield pressure. I would hide this Pokemon in the back with the shield advantage, because I think that's how you have to play it. Because I actually don't think playing it on the lead is the right way. See, you can get by with playing Wiggly on the lead, because again, Wiggly can put some shield pressure on your opponents. This doesn't put any shield pressure on your opponents. This just ensures that you can take switch if you want to use your shields and this Psycho Fangs and charm your way down. Where Wiggly can put pressure on shields with Swift. So I think the better way to play this Pokemon is perhaps hide this in the back with a shield advantage. And again, you can take some moves too. So hiding in the back, knowing you're not going to grab a bunch of shields, but just being able to out charm and lower their defense and stuff, I think is the way to play this Pokemon. So that is my thoughts on this Pokemon here. So I got a few more battles, I think. Greninja is a fantastic lead. They're going to get out into something. That something is a Drapion. We'll go straight into Gastrodon. I remember one time, I wonder if I have that battle in here. One time I misclicked and I came in Corsola here. Oof, that was dumb. At this point, I'm just coming to the farm down. So yes, I will commit to the shield, but I know I have alignment on the Dachsbun. I know if I get to an Earth Power, I can actually put some pressure. And I'm reading a double weak to ground team. I'm reading a try and draw to ground with this, and so I'm probably going to instant swap if I can. I wouldn't be surprised if I shield this. Yeah, I'm reading a double weak to ground team with Greninja lead and Drapion safe swap trying to draw it out, and it is a Clodsire, and that's exactly what I read. So now we are just going to, yes, I'm making it obvious I'm throwing Body Slam. I want them to basically let these go, because I think if I can slap this and Body Slam this enough, then it's Astonish and resisted charm range. So I'm very happy that they're not using any shields. That's fine. I've burned both. This will take me out. Unless it's a Sludge Bomb, then it will not take me out. But now I've got a Ghost Pokemon resisting the poison. Even if they throw an Earthquake, I'll live with ease. And I remember they throw in the resisted move again. Yeah, for some reason. I think they kind of just knew the writing was on the wall that they screwed that up. Jumpluff. Again, you can take an Energy Ball. You may want to shield the first one, assuming they're going to go Energy Ball. I do that sometimes, yeah. I'm under the assumption that if they are going to throw the energy ball, it's probably going to be first and then bait second. So I'd rather just shield up the first one anyways. So that's just my thought process around it. You don't have to shield it up. You'll live it. There goes their defense. Here comes another energy ball. And again, here's where you just kind of get out spammed. You don't put any shield pressure on them, so they don't need to shield the move. They get to another energy ball. Does about 50%, right? So I'm going for body slam to try and put some pressure on them, on their health. But they get to another move. It is just an alias, so you live. And they do charm down, and I'll get to another move here. But, you know, I take switch, but with 1 HP and down a shield. Yes, some energy, but the energy is not going to threaten, right? The energy does not threaten, so they still have a shield advantage now. So now they have a shield advantage, and they come in with Drift Blim. So I'm just going to commit to the farm down here to come out with some energy for Corsola. Throw like a Nightshade, and then get into the Gastrodon with the Mud Slap. Or, yeah, I throw one right away. Maybe trying to, yeah, they get the Mud Slap through. I'm trying to like fast move deny them. But once that lands, instant swap here. And again, I'll probably just make it obvious I'm throwing Body Slam. I want them to like let this go that I can maybe Mud Slap them down. They're not a shadow. So it's going to be a little trickier to take them out, but get off the Body Slam. They do shield, which is good. They do throw a move, which is nice, because I do have a Nightshade loaded. Nightshade is a pretty nice move. So they don't quite take me out. I get to a Body Slam, but Body Slam is not enough to take out because it's garbage on Gastrodon. So they live, but I have a Nightshade. Get to the move, take them out for the win here. And then Dragonair is obviously a fantastic lead, so they will get out into Hypno. And why would I come in immediately with my Ghost Pokemon when I can take 3 Confusions for no reason? And now have to shield up a Shadow Ball because I let them get so much energy. So that's unfortunate for me. I don't want to take a charge move, so I do throw here. I'm already down a shield. I do not want to just take another move unnecessarily. And now out comes the Dragonair. So do throw the Nightshade. This will do good chip. And I believe they shield, which is an interesting one considering I've got a really strong Pokemon on the lead for this. So they get to the Aqua Tail. It does not quite take me out. I will ensure I keep alignment because I want to see what they have in the back. And it is a Dunsparce in the back. So pretty good matchup overall here. Oh yeah, I remember this matchup. I win, but it's way closer than it should be. So I'll get to the Earth Power, go straight Earth Power because that's what I do, and they shield it. And now just because they shield it and it takes 18 turns worth of moves to get to the first one, they're going to start outpacing me to these 3rd and 4th drill runs here, which actually puts pressure on me. And then I was worried about I think they're going to try and catch the Earth Power here. So then we have to instant swap. So it ends up being a lot closer than it should be. So I do have a move bank there. They're going to move off here. And let's see if I try and throw the Body Slam on this thing here. On the Dunsparce here. No. See, this is where I think you probably should throw it when it's this slow. I think you should. Yeah, if I threw the Body Slam, this would have been taken out already. That is one scenario where I should have thrown the Body Slam because now they're going to take this Pokemon out and I have a move, so it's fine. But basically, you need to read how much health your opponent Pokemon has left. That's basically the only time you should throw a Body Slam, when they're like low enough that it's basically just Charm and Body Slam range, that lowering their defense doesn't really do much with the low damage that Psychic Fangs is. So take that extra Body Slam damage there and then just Charm it down, as opposed to throwing the Psychic Fangs to lower its defense, which is useless when you have a charge move on your other Pokemon anyways and you just want to Charm this down. Just chip it with Body Slam and take it out with Charm. Anyways, that is the Beyond the Hype with this Pokemon. Like I said, it's not going to make me... I know a lot of people have had success with this Pokemon. I've seen it like, oh, I'm 16-4 with this Pokemon. It plays like Wiggly. And you can definitely... And I've already put out multiple videos on Wigglytuff saying Wigglytuff feels very strong and very safe in this meta. So it makes sense that this Pokemon is getting people a lot of wins, because if Wigglytuff is safe in this meta, this Pokemon's gonna be safe in this meta because it's very, very similar, just with the slight differences that I mentioned about the charge moves there. But they basically charm mostly the same. I'd say Wiggly a bit stronger. Wiggly has the better Swift, but this in the 1 and 2 shield, just Psychic Fangs, lowering your opponent's defense, and just charming is the way to play this Pokemon. That is it. We will have a viewer battle that I shot earlier, and I talked about it like I did shoot it earlier, but it's actually going this afternoon. And then we will do some top teams for Color Cup, I believe, is on tap here because people ask me about teams. So yeah, we'll look at teams for Color Cup. I believe it's a Color Cup and Ultra League. It is Color Cup and Ultra League, and then it's Color Cup and Master League. So, if you are, member or non-member, like this afternoon is a non-member, it's just a subscriber. If you are a member that I said I was going to get to your Little Cups, but then I'm like, no one's watching Little Cup, so we're just going to do Great League. We have 2 weeks of Color Cup, Great League Color Cup. So please send me your battles, one and all, subscribers and members. And I will obviously prioritize members, especially those that I missed during the Little Cup, that the submitted Little Cup Pokemon that I just did not want to cover because, yeah, we're not doing Little Cup. Anyways, that is it. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.